All right, welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. Very special guest, Ben from Yards. It's only taken 45 years to get you on, Ben, but I wanted to get you on a lot of different things. People will see you online. You've known you could be around the industry so long, but you also have a lot of practical wisdom for small business when it comes to getting staff, getting them to do high-quality work. You were telling me before you drove up from Sydney to Brisbane to pursue a lovely lady. And in the meantime, you've also happened to grow a business from just yourself to about 18 staff now, doing high quality work. And I think a lot of people, they see the stuff online, they see the fruit of what you do, but they don't know what's gone on to get yourself there. So we're going to talk about all of that. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke. It's great to finally catch up.
Most important question, did you get the girl?
I did, yes. She's secured. Yeah,
she's locked in.
Yeah, locked in. No, it's been a good solid 20 years now of running the business and being with her as well. So she's always been there every step of the way. So yeah.
First question: was there ever a point in the last 20 years? Because people see, like I said, the fruit of what you're doing now. Was there ever a point in the last 20 years where you thought, I've made the wrong choice, I've gone down the wrong path, this is too difficult, I should have, I don't know, gone into contemporary dance routines or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. You could, a lot of challenges over 20 years. We've seen the global financial crisis where, that was a long time ago, and we were only probably a 2 or 3 person crew at the time, but we'd have two. Then this is when we were doing mostly landscape design and construction, and we would have 2 years of work ahead of us, and then for that to be turned around and sort of questioning where's our next job, that has an impact. The drought that we were at around about the same sort of time, that influenced the sort of work that we were doing. There does come a point where, in the early days, probably didn't have as much focus on the maintenance. We were really trying to do the design and construct. And I did think about giving it away. I actually took a break. I had all the equipment. I had an excavator. I decided that I would go and pursue that because it could pay the bills, especially when you start a family and you're trying to find ways of paying the bills. So the excavator was a great source of income, and I got to meet a lot of different people across the building, plumbing and electrical side of things. But my passion kept coming back to horticulture and gardens. So, while it was a good, I may have done it, maybe stepped away for a year, and then it was probably a good chance to refocus and calibrate as well.
It's one thing to grow a business to 18 staff, but I think you would agree. There's an easier way to do that and there's a hard way to do it. And the easier way to do that is, not that it's easy in general, but it's easier, would be to go for sort of low use areas on commercial tenders or things like that, where you've got, say, pretty average work expected, a lot of it done, and you do it to a price point, you make some small margins, and you win a couple of big contracts, and you can get a lot of work that way. And it's very tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but one of the challenges is a bit easier. It's easy to find stuff because you don't have such a high ceiling of expectation.
That's right. Yep.
Once you do what you guys do, it's incredibly challenging. It is so hard to find staff who know how to solve and identify problems. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I asked you before, what are you more passionate about, the quality of the work or the actual building of the business? And you said the quality of the work. So somebody who's focused on the quality of the work to still get to 18, that's incredible. Like there's not many people who have done that.
Well, I think about it a lot, and you say it would be easy to grow because there's just daily requests coming in for work, and we have to. It's hard to hold back. It's hard to turn work away and go no. Well, we have our really good client base. We will grow slowly. And I'm sure that growing a business to 100 staff, 200 staff, 300 staff has plenty of challenges, but um, I just think that there's a lot more work out there these days where you could take that on, and if that was your direction, it's achievable. Um,
Mm.
I love what I do, and my team love what they do. So it's just about aligning, you know, e- everything together. So our clients' expectations, our staff's expectations, also finding suppliers who are on the same page and understand what it is that we do. So.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Like some of these council jobs, we've had some people who work for us who had years on these council jobs for the big contractors,
Mm.
and on paper they look like they have some pretty good experience. But then you realise that these council jobs will only be checked quarterly by someone
Yeah.
from the council, and unless they're fair play for the business, they're probably checking it more often and
Mm.
making sure that there is some level of quality there. But there's a big jump from the client checking it once a quarter to like every single mow you do, someone's having a look, and you start getting a little bit of yellowing in a certain spot, and they want you to solve a problem. Whereas, just down the road here, we haven't had rain for a while. Actually, we've had lots of rain today, but like not much, not much in Perth.
Yeah.
Like the lawns are entirely yellow because they're not irrigated, so it's kind of like you don't have to solve any problems. The
Yeah.
expectation is they're going to be dead.
Yeah.
So I really admire, and I think a lot of people listening to this would too, somebody who's been able to balance that. So what's the trick? If you're going to put it down to one thing, and it's probably too simple, but what's the first thing that comes to mind that helped you be able to balance this?
Well, uh, I'll just go back a step and highlight. We have clients who, some of them will s- watch every step that we take during a visit, and
Yeah.
it's not because there's no trust. It's just that they love being engaged. They love seeing what our team do. We've got other clients who I've got one that's probably a kilometre and a half from where I'm sitting here. They're away for 6 months of the year. They own a resort on an island far away, and here's the key to the house: keep the plants watered, keep the gardens looking good every single week, as if we still live there. But they're only there for 6 months of the year, and they could turn up. And I know when they're back because they'll send me a lovely little photo of their garden, or a plant that's in flower that And to them, it's a little paradise that they come home to. So that's the sort of thing that we're dealing with, and we've got to get our team on board with that as well. And we've in 20 years we've had team members come and go, uh, and they don't quite get it, what we do, and why we have to detail things so much, but that's what the client loves. That's what the client wants.
Mm.
So it's about setting those expectations from the beginning. We've got an add-on seek at the moment, and we'll get the applications come through, and if we think that they're um, uh, suitable, we will send them a list of questions and let them know where we work and the type of work we do. And some of them are honest and say, I don't think I can, perform at that level. Or we also have people say, I don't know if um, I'm prepared to travel that far. There's so many challenges
Mm.
with putting staff on, but they've got to be treating the garden as if it's their own,
Mm.
and really understanding why the client likes things the way that they do. Um, yeah,
Do
we
you
it's
find that the maybe this is a little bit of my experience. The people who have that attention to detail can sometimes scratch that itch in their own garden and then go to a different career that
mm,
pays more money on average. And then a lot of people who fall into the gardening industry are doing so because maybe they didn't have another opportunity, and so they sort of fell into it, and they've been there for 10 years, but they don't have that passion. Is that what you find?
yes and no. So yeah, we definitely get that. The passion, but we've got most of our staff are mature age people. So I think we worked out our average age in our team is probably around the 38, 39 mark. And the majority have come from other industries. So we've had this issue in the past where, we've put somebody on and they talk about climbing the ladder for their career and what's the progression and what opportunities are there. And in a small business, it's very hard. It's either in the garden doing that job or being the owner of the business. It's very hard to have anything in between as a small business. As a bigger business, yeah, you can structure it in multiple ways and have a management um, role that oversees various aspects and business development. But as a small business, it's very hard to then attract people who are really eager and want to climb. But then we've had those same people want to go and work in a big stadium or work on a golf course or take that elite step, only to find out that they're working day and night, every event, losing their weekends. And I've had a few of them come back and say, I really, really enjoyed working at, doing the sort of work that we do. So, yeah, that's tricky. But then the other staff members who have come to us from different backgrounds. So I've got a lady who was an engineer, naval engineer, has a PhD behind her, and she is just a super passionate plant person. And she just fit in. She's only been here probably 18 months, and but I feel like she's been here for 10 years. She knows the clients inside out. She totally gets what service we provide. We've had other people that come from nursery backgrounds, botanic gardens backgrounds, customer service, and then they've just fallen into horticulture because they love it. So a little bit different to the other end, I think, that you were talking about, where they just do it because they haven't done anything else. And we had that situation only a couple of weeks ago. A gentleman decided to leave. He thought that it would be for him, and he was honest enough and said, "Look, I got into horticulture and the garden industry because there was nothing else to do when I left school, and I've been trying to find happiness, and it just wasn't for him. So he's decided to go and join the police force." So yeah, you've got to be passionate about what you do, because you do it every day, and you've got to be happy. There's no point doing a job if you don't enjoy it. And that's probably another thing. Sorry, Luke, I was just going to say that it's another thing where when I started the business, some of the places I'd worked previously, we might not have had the best tools or the best equipment. And I really wanted to, even if I wasn't on the tools, I wanted to still have good quality equipment, a nice vehicle to drive, good quality work, and good customers. So, that's probably my driving force for creating what we have.
Right, small business owners, we've got to be honest. Like, we need to be honest in this conversation right now. A lot of you are really average or even terrible at admin, getting back to clients, replying quickly, getting through those people who are emailing you. And I can understand it. I've been there. You're on the tools, you're working in the rain, you're working in the hot days, you're struggling to get through everything, and then someone calls that email and you just hate the idea of replying to it. The way to solve that issue, there's a couple, but the first step to solving that issue is to have an admin system, a dedicated admin system. If you're running off Google Calendar and your email, you're going to miss opportunities. It's going to cost you money. It's going to take you a long time. I did a full podcast with my wife, who runs the admin side of Silverstone Gardening. She's 8 months pregnant in this podcast, right? And she's got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She stays at home. She looks after them. They don't go to daycare. And if you're going, that is insane. She's running multiple staff. How does she do that? We did a podcast on that. And the big point is that we're using a software system called SortScape. We love it so much that we went to SortScape and we said, hey, can you do a deal, help the people out, and sponsor the podcast? And I said, yes, we'd love to. So we have an exclusive deal. You can get SortScape off SortScape with the first month for free. That's a discount that you get. And I highly recommend that you sign up to it now. It's winter. This is a time that you have an awesome opportunity to improve your business before the hot weather comes, before the craziness happens, before you run off your feet. Improve those systems so that you're way better at managing a business. Again, full podcast. Listen to that. I've got a link in the description. and a free first month for SortScape. Again, link is in the description. Can I just repeat this? Please, for your own sake, go do something about your admin this winter. So what was the turning point where, when you look back at that time that you were struggling as you took a time off to where you are now, what did you change that made what was previously challenging successful?
We went from predominantly design and construct with a little bit of maintenance to flipping that, so we're predominantly maintenance with just a little bit of design and construct. And it took, for us, it took the ebbs and flows out, because we were landscaping and we'd have a month of solid work, and then all of a sudden the builders held you up and you've got 2 weeks downtime, and you're just up and down. So that was something where I thought, well, I need to change this, and we're getting more and more inquiries for maintenance. It's something that we're really good at, and that word of mouth just spread, and that enabled us to fully immerse ourselves in maintenance.
So is it universal that you talk to a lot of these landscaping guys and they kind of attempted, because I talked to some maintenance guys who attempted to go the other way. Is it
Yeah.
is it grass is always green, or is it actually like structurally? Because I've heard guys say like weather just knocks them. You can't work when it's raining too much, which you can't in maintenance either.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes it really holds you up in landscaping, or there's all sorts of problems that are completely outside of your control that just don't allow you to make any reasonable money.
Yeah.
Is that an industry problem?
It is, yeah, but I would also say trust. So we have so much trust with our regular clients. We don't. We're always proving ourselves, but every time we would get a new landscaping client, there's a lot that you'd have to prove, especially in our industry where it's probably a little bit less regulated, and we're up against somebody who's a client who's had their place landscaped before, wasn't a good experience. Why should they trust us? It's very hard to put everything in, and so passionate about wanting the garden to last forever. And you know it's just one of those things where we're in the maintenance field, and we've got clients who you know you've got such a good bond with them that they've become good friends. It's something that's probably the thing that I love the most about what I do now is those relationships that we've built, as much as the building the gardens as well.
What's the best place to find these high quality clients?
Yeah, that was interesting, because I was driving around recently and I thought it was in an area that I used to target for landscaping work, and they're not areas that I would target now if we had to go looking for work. Um, I guess just understanding what's involved and what people value. Um, there's always a perception. I think there's a perception of what something is worth, regardless of what it really costs. But a lot of clients have got those perceived values, and they're not prepared to spend any more than that on those services. So um, for us, we took a look at what we could do, and the services that we were providing, and we thought, well, yes, we can take on those amazing houses with gardens, and that's what the way we targeted. As much as a lot of it was word of mouth, there was also strategic, pamphlet drops. We looked at. I was listening to your marketing episode that you recently released, and talking about marketing, which was very interesting. I could relate to a lot of that, but we engaged. I think we ordered some flyers. We paid for them to be distributed, and we didn't get a single phone call. So I thought, well, a rain day, some raincoats, and a plastic bag, and some waterproof flyers, and we'll target the streets that we want to work in. We'll target those houses that we want to work at, and we got the inquiries, but we also got clients who didn't really appreciate, like, they wanted a nice garden, but they didn't really appreciate it. Whereas now we've been able to build our client base who are just, they love everything about their pristine lawns or their immaculate gardens or some of their jungle overgrown gardens that that they have as well. So um, yeah, I think really understanding where it is that you want to work, and honing in on what's required to get there.
When it comes to like when you got staff in this industry, you can't be there with them. And I think that's one of the underrated challenges. Like if you were running a McDonald's, right? Okay, there's challenges with that, but at least they're all in the same building.
Yeah,
It's really hard to manage, especially if, like, I'm assuming someone like you's got this really, you've got a specific eye, probably. You notice some stuff, and you know how to fix it, and then you got to hand it over to someone else. And a lot of people really struggle with that side. Is that something that you struggle to give away, to let people go work when you're not there?
it is hard, and I'm very fortunate now. We've got a fantastic manager in our team, our Hort Care manager, who is completely aligned with everything that I stand for, and so yeah, he's able to check on gardens and help guide our team if needed. But we also do a lot of training with our team. Every second month, we would do a team breakfast. We would have a guest speaker come along. We'd talk about relevant industry standards or industry news. So training is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them aligned and making them responsible for the gardens as well. So all of our team, they would be allocated to a client's jobs, and we try to allocate the right person who's aligned with that sort of work. So we've got one lady with us who is really good with her indoor plants and high detail finessing. So we select projects that suit her. We've got other projects where there's probably a bit more bulk work and some hedges and more jungle type gardens, I guess, and they're tailored specifically to some other staff members. So yeah, it's just understanding what works and how it all
Yeah.
locks into each other.
Did you ever feel like you were not able to hire those people at some stage? I've heard this in the industry where people go, you can't find people as good as you. But it sounds like you've got some people who really know that. So did you doubt that? Did you? And then one day you got proved wrong?
Yeah, that's a fair call. You always think, how can I teach staff what's in here? How can I get them to be on the same page? And it can be challenging, but I guess I've been focusing on what we do and really talking to the team, being open with them. Just recently I went down to the Australian Landscape Conference in Melbourne, and also hung around for the Melbourne Flower and Garden Show. And we flew
Mm-hmm.
one of our ladies down. She came down for the day, and we walked around. We analysed all the gardens, and we talked about everything horticulture, um, and explained a lot of the things as to why we do things, or
Yeah.
just that background. So they do understand, and but you're not going to always find um, the same thing time and time again. Like we've had some team members who just don't get it, and you know, I can't help any further.
Yeah.
They want to they want to cut corners, and they don't want to uphold our values, and so you've got to let people go. There's they might be really good at what they do, but if they don't have the same values, um, it's hard to keep things aligned. So, there's
Do you,
there's
do
there's
you
jobs out
find
there.
that? So do you find that hard to fire people to give them that, or have you gotten to a point where it's like, I've done it enough, it's fine now?
But it's genuinely a mutual recognition. Like you sit
Yeah.
down and have a chat with them, and you realise that are they really suited? Are they really happy doing the finer detail stuff? Or if it's not for them, it's not for them.
Mm.
sometimes they could be better off going and doing. And I'm, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but there is the mow and blow
Yeah.
style part of our industry, and there's a price point to that, and there's definitely a market for that.
Mm.
But that's some people are just better suited to that. I still remember having a guy come in here one day. He if he didn't have shoes, he had thongs on. He was all ripped. Came in for the interview with all his ripped shirt and ripped pants. First question
Yeah.
was, "What's my quota for the day?" Because I reckon 13 is probably my limit. I said, 13 what? He said, "How many lawns have I got to mow in a day to?" I was like, no, that's you've totally
Yeah.
misread the job interview and the job ad, and it's not that's not what we're about. So
I had a
yeah,
guy who did an interview. I got some safety glasses here. He did the whole interview with safety glasses like this. I don't know if it was exactly like, but he had them like this. And he was there with his sonnies. And
right.
I've never seen anyone do that before in my life. And I couldn't, I wasn't going to not hire him because of that. Because I'm like, okay, you wear your sunnies weird, but there were some other things about him which was just, I don't know. It was it was an interesting guy. But yeah, who goes to a whole meeting with your glasses like? I might just do the rest of the podcast like this and just get some comments and see what happens.
Uh, Look, we could write a book on the amount of applications that we've had over the years, and the stories that we could tell. Like that, honestly, yeah, there is. Maybe I'll write a book one day on uh, on those applications. But yeah, it's hard to find people, regardless of what industry you're in as well. It's something stories I share with clients who've become good friends, and these clients that I try and draw a lot of inspiration from as well. It's across the board, but
Mm.
we've just got to really understand where you're at, what it is that the type of work that you want to do, and make sure that everything is documented. We've gone to a lot of expense and a lot of time to develop handbooks, refine all of our processes, HR consultancies. We've done the whole lot just to make sure that we're ticking all the boxes and people understand from day one what those expectations are. We're
Yeah.
even in the process at the moment of just refining that onboarding and handbook scenario just to simplify. And that's something that we do with a lot of our systems is just simplify and make things as efficient as possible. So
Did you see that crest mower that I posted maybe 2-3 weeks ago?
I didn't see that. I remember seeing the crest when you drove all the way from Perth to Brisbane and we
For
came to see you.
the best day ever of my life, that one. All
Pouring rain.
17 of you showed up because it was a public holiday and someone cancelled last minute. And Lenny Lawler didn't even show up because he forgot which day it was, despite publicly posting the correct day about 5 days earlier. This is what a mess. But having said that, that was, we mentioned this recently, some of those clips went really viral from that podcast. Yep. Our most popular clips ever from, so it was probably the highest quality podcast for all, I don't know, it was about 20 people who came in the end, but it was, that was every time you're reminded of it, it's just all the stress comes up. No, they've released a interesting mower.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not available yet. And they're not the only ones to do it, but I like the way that they've done it because dedicated. It's not an aftermarket chuck on a different mower.
Mm-hmm.
It's think of like I think it's 40-ish, 42 inches or something like that mower.
Mm-hmm.
That is think of like a small residential ride-on mower where the seat completely folds down, so the seat just goes missing. And what you do is you rock up, you flip your seat up, and you drive around the perimeter and you drive around the obstacles and then you go, see you later. And the robot mows the rest.
Yeah, right.
And then you can put it on your truck. So the idea is, and I think this is a really good concept because the robot mower side, like the generic robot mower side, which Crest does and all these other business do, you still have to do your edging. And I'm sort of like, well, are you going to be able to... I don't think legally that's going to be... I could be proven wrong, but like exposed blades, people around... even if the technology is there, probably the government might get involved. I don't know. That's my 2 cents worth. So this idea, I think, has got legs where you get a contractor to do the edging, the line trimming, the blowing with their mower. And I don't know how fast it is. I don't know how well it executes. But let's say it did it really well. Well, then you save money on your labour, and you can then take that time and put it into detail work. The fertilisation or pruning the roses or, pulling some weeds out or doing all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, that's really cool. And that also kind of reminds me of Star Wars. Yeah. Like, there's some droids that actually help you do your job. Like that's kind of what I would like my future to be. I'd like droids, and make them sound like R2-D2, right? Crest, please do that. If you don't, you've missed a chance, all right? But that's cool. I would love, and I'm hoping, maybe I'm speaking a little bit before my time, but I'm really hoping to film that with one of them when it eventually gets to Australia. Because before release, that would be epic. To actually just try it out, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. Look, we've got 3 greenkeepers, so we're very separate. Like we all wear the same shirts. Everyone thinks that we're the same, but we've got 3 dedicated greenkeepers that just look after our lawns, and then our horticulturists look after the gardens, and our landscapers do the restorations and the installations. But yeah, we've looked at lots of different improvements to our tools and equipment over the years, and all the battery gear. I got rid of a few of the old Shindaiwa 2-stroke. I can still smell the fumes from the
pheromones. The 2-stroke pheromones coming off the machines. Yeah.
So we've pretty much gone to the battery operated gear now, and the Walker is our latest purchase. So we've just invested in a high lift dump Walker. What a fantastic machine! After trialing lots of different types, we settled on the Walker, and we're getting a truck custom built at the moment with a custom tray. So it's all off at the fabricator up on the Sunshine Coast at the moment, getting ready, and we're really looking forward to taking on more acreage mowing, because the subcontractor that we had, he's looking at retiring. So that's another opportunity where we weren't targeting acreage mowing, but that fine cut lawn care, there's definitely a market in that as well.
Yeah, I love that machine. What made you go down the path of going for a Walker?
Well, we've had all the basic mowers, the Cub Cadets and Gravely, and they do a job, and they do it all right. But after having our subcontractor who has a Walker, and just how efficient they are, and then ringing up, our local mower supplier, and he organised a demo with SME, and they came out. They gave us a trial of the tracked mower. Is it the T-Rex or
the Altos or something like that?
That's it. Yeah. We tried, and that was just too big.
It seems if right now, I reckon half the country would really like a tracked lawnmower because of how much of it's underwater. But I reckon it's probably one of those machines that has a very niche use, and in that niche, it's like the perfect mower. But I've never used one. They look interesting though.
I've seen a lot of contractors who do council mowing around here. That's been sorry.
Lost you for a second. Yeah. We could still hear you.
So I've seen the council contractors or private contractors with those mowers, and they do a good job on the roadside. But for the fine cut, after another one of my clients has got a Walker, and he said, you really got to look at these as well. So yeah, we investigated that. We've put on a guy who, one of our greenkeepers, who will just do acreage mowing, and that's another avenue of growing our business slowly. And into an area that we think will do really well.
There's only 2 things I recommend with a Walker, which is when you finished mowing the section, you got to keep the blades running for like 5 seconds. I don't know if I've told you about this before.
No.
What happens every now and then, if you because you know how the blower blows straight up into the catcher.
Mhm.
If you turn it off just as you're finishing, there's still grass going through the pipe, and sometimes it goes halfway up the pipe and then it falls back down again into where the blower is. You just need like 2-3 more seconds to clear it out. And every now and then what you'll get is like a little stick or a little clump of something, mulch or whatever. It's just in the wrong part, and you can't, the blades just get caught because it just jams before it's built up any speed to throw anything anywhere. And it's so annoying. Once you know what to do, you don't have the problem again. Yeah. But when I first got it, all the time, I'd turn the blades on and it'd be like, because the thing is spinning. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, you really notice, because I find that I cut lower to the ground because the floating deck, because I'm not scared of it scalping. Yep. And then you notice when the blades go dull. Whereas with other mowers, you're cutting high, you don't notice them so much. So you always got to have your spare blades. They're very easy to change because you can flip the deck up.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the only thing. Is like if you always have those fresh blades ready to go, because they get, all of a sudden you start mowing, you're like, it's good, but I notice, and it annoys me.
We notice it with all, like we run the Palanque battery operated mowing gear. Which this after sales service is second to none, I feel, but yeah, the new blades on them, we do that quite regularly because we're getting such a premium cut on those, even to the point where a client had a cylinder mower and prefers the cut of the Palanque. So it's something that our greenkeepers have those, and we get really good battery life out of them as well. So that's something that we feel like we made a really good choice on when we were investing into the battery gear.
So is that the 25-inch, the top of the line one that they've got?
Yeah. It's I don't know if it's 25-inch, but it's their.
I think they are.
It's their top line. So yeah, and so quiet too.
One of the things that's interesting is this idea of battery. Because I think you've got multiple brands now. Because I think you told me that you were doing some Milwaukee stuff. Is that right? We
tried the Milwaukee, and for our construction teams, they've been awesome. We tried the Hedger. We found it a little bit heavy. The line trimmer was good. The mower was a bit heavy, but the batteries just they chew through the batteries. Whereas a Palanque, we can get a week out of the battery in winter, and we can get
a week,
and we can get we can get a midweek charge in summer.
Yeah, interesting. Because where I was going with this is, a lot of people have these really unique preferences for machines with how they just how they fit in their hand, or the type of work they do and how it suits it. Some people are like, give me the biggest petrol steel line trimmer you can imagine. And someone is like, give me the lightest thing that you can imagine. And what I've found is it's really interesting that a lot of these battery brands have a sort of flagship model, like I would say with the Palanque, it's that mower that a lot of people talk about. And I don't know what the other stuff is like, but that people rave about it. But then, you end up going down, say, a different brand to get, because this line trim is amazing, and you get another brand for this. And I'm wondering if some people just suck it up and stay on the one brand for the battery price, and some people go, no, I'm literally dedicated. I've got 14,000 chargers and 16 million batteries, and everything's on the wall, because they're going down the perfect tool route. Yeah, and it's a challenge because you save a little bit of efficiency, you spend more money, and then for you, the more brands you have, the more maintenance parts you've got staff doing it. So how do you think about buying tools and going down that whole rabbit hole?
Well, when we first looked at the battery and realised the expense of it all, my business brain was going, we're going to pick a brand and we're going to run with that. And then we did demo days, and we did get, some of these companies were great at bringing out equipment and leaving it with us for a week, a month, 2 months, to really find out what would be best for us. And then we find, the more people you ask and the more team members you ask to participate, um, the more opinions you're going to get. So, we had
Yep.
some guys that only wanted the backpack battery with the hedger and the blower it plugs into it, whereas others, they don't want the backpack. So it's very hard. So we do have multiple brands. Our hedging equipment is different to our mowing equipment. It's, yeah.
How
You know,
common
and
is it for someone to not put a battery on charge at the end of the day, and then you get back in the morning and it's like,
they're all
they're all
really good
flat.
at it, actually, because they
That's
know
good.
that it's a tool of their trade, and they need it. But also the chargers do charge pretty quick, and yeah, it's. I'm surprised I haven't had a single phone call saying I can't do the job because I don't have a charged battery. So,
Yeah.
in all these years, we haven't had that scenario, which is good.
We got some water getting into one of our toolboxes. The
Oh
seal
yeah,
was not quite right, and then it kind of the batteries weren't sitting in the water; they were sitting on the wall. But
yeah,
like the kind of general sweat that develops ruined a couple of them, and then yes, that needed. Which is another one of those challenges that there's good and bad with everything. And I
yeah.
also get nervous with like we have defender racks, so they
Mhm.
the line trimmers and stuff are sort of locked on the outside of the trailer.
Yeah,
And with petrol, like no worries. How
yeah,
are you going to steal it without doing some damage, right? But with battery, you could just take my battery.
yeah,
They're not cheap, and it's I get so yeah. There's pros and cons of everything.
yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, have you seen these battery connectors that you can get for different brands?
For
They're for
storing them.
drills. No, there's some people who make like 3D printed, um, if you have the same voltage with 18 volt or whatever,
Oh yeah, yeah,
they
yep.
will get a 3D printed sort of battery mold thing that puts a DeWalt battery on a Makita and a Makita on a
Right.
Milwaukee. And
Yeah,
I wonder how long it's till we get in some sort of generic batteries that have sort of the connectors and you can put it on anything you want. And
yeah.
I don't know.
Like
There's got to be some proprietary information that stops that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Look, yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, but yeah, we haven't. I'm not game enough to do that with the amount of money that we spend on all this equipment. We've got to make sure it's all above board, just to save what, a couple of dollars. Nah.
Do you find that your relationship with money changed after you got a bunch of stuff? Because I found that all of a sudden, dollars didn't mean what dollars used to mean. When we
Oh,
were running staff and you're paying like, I don't know, $10,000 a week in wages or more, and then it's like a $50 bill feels like nothing now. Whereas
yeah,
before it used to be insane.
yeah.
$50. And, $50 on lunch, man. I'm about to spend 10 grand on something. Like
Uh,
my workers' compensation bill is ridiculous.
yeah.
That sort of stuff, and you almost become foolishly flippant about money because you spend so much of it. Like, is that what you found?
We always got to watch what we're spending, because it just, like I said to the guys, I think one of them um, forgot to charge out a tip fee, which might have been a $40 green waste fee. But you expand that out to everybody forgetting in the team every single
Mm,
day over a year. We're in the tens of thousands of dollars. So we really have to watch all of our expenses, and it's not something that I enjoy doing, but we have to, because you can quickly lose a lot of money just from
mm.
anything, from the lack of care of tools to just those little expenses. Um, yeah, it's something that you really have to watch, and probably in the early years, it's more worried about trying to build the business, and trying to get more work in the door. Um, but yeah, we now have all different systems in place behind the scenes to make sure we keep track of everything. It's critical, because we don't. It's not an industry that, we're not in IT or anything like that, where those there's huge profits. Like it's still difficult um, to run a business, with all those expenses. You mentioned work cover, you got public liability, professional indemnity, all your mechanics fees, whether you're going to service your vehicles yourself or whether you have them professionally maintained, just all the wear and tear. There are so many expenses that, a lot of people don't see. The staff don't see it.
Yeah.
Staff aren't aware of what is involved in keeping things afloat. So yeah, that can be tricky at times too.
I remember this one day, maybe 5 years ago. We had a couple
Mm.
of guys who were working for us, and they've been with us for a bit. I think one about a year, one about maybe 6, 7 months. And they were really casual, sort of fun guys, loved a good laugh. And I had to go and drop something off to them halfway through the day, some fertilizer, I don't know, something.
Mm.
And what ended up happening was I messaged them, whereabouts are you? And I had a point which I expected them to be at, and they were nowhere near that. They were so far behind.
Mm.
And so I drove to where they were, and in the way, I was doing maths. I called up, admin, and I was like, help me do some maths here, blah, blah. And they had brought in, it was less than $10 an hour, right, between them. And it was kind of like, I had a conversation with them, and I was like, it's very hard. And this is, I guess, that one of the questions I've got for you is, how do you balance being firm and then giving feedback without burning bridges? But I had to just say to them, I was like, guys, I don't know what you've been doing, right? And maybe you're just having a laugh or whatever, but you've only done $30 worth of work for the day so far, or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact number. And it's lunchtime or something like that. And I don't know how that's possible. What's happened? And they were like, oh, we don't really know, And I was like, it didn't happen after that because I didn't push them for more answers. But I could see the looks on their face were like, we've never thought about this before. We have never considered how much we're bringing in, or it just some people think that way. So naturally, they didn't.
Yeah.
And a lot of that happens. You break a tool. We have heaps of them. They're like $180 each, mate. That's like a lot of time just to earn that back.
Yeah.
And so how do you do that? How do you have that conversation where you've got to bring something that's, it's a challenge. You've got to correct somebody, and you've got to do it without causing offence.
Yeah, that's a tricky one to navigate, but I think the more that they understand the why we do things, what those real costs are. So it's hard you're not going to bring everyone in and go through all your financials.
It's our profit and loss statements. Yes,
Yeah,
he's our most profitable employee. He's the person dragging us all down.
Yeah, we don't do that, but just recently we've created a spreadsheet. It's just all the tools are allocated to a vehicle and to a person, and they're responsible for those, and just explaining that dollar value. And we've got a spreadsheet say, hey, you've got $10,000 worth of equipment here in your vehicle. They know what each line item is worth. So we've gone down that path just so that people can understand the why. Even I've got a gentleman that sits next to me in the office. He's been with me for quite a few years now, and he didn't understand all the whys, and now I've got him working, behind the scenes to put these things together, and he's blown away. So he's then explaining it to our team, and the more people that understand a little bit about the background of in the back of house. Is important, I think, so that they can understand. But there are a lot of young guys aren't going to get it. We've had young guys, we've put young guys on. We keep trying apprenticeships, and a lot of those guys, I probably wasn't the same, back then as what I am now, and I'm sure I wouldn't have appreciated things that people did for me. So. Sure as wouldn't have understood the real costs of running a business at a young age. So I think the more you can try and help them to understand, the better the outcome will be.
Another thing that's really expensive that people don't realize is training.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a huge opportunity cost, even if you're training them in-house and you're not paying for anything else.
Mm.
So a lot of people then naturally they skip on it. And then they find out that skipping the training is, in a way, more expensive than not doing the training. And it's a tough balance. And so how do you do it? How do you, if someone comes in, maybe they've got a little bit of knowledge, maybe they've got no knowledge, how do you assess that? What do you do with your training?
So we will send out a self-assessment form when we are going to put somebody on. We want to know where their strengths are and where they've got room to grow. When we do our staff breakfast every 2 months, that's at least 2, maybe 3 hours of a morning where you've got all those people together. You multiply out 3 hours by, 18 of us. You quickly realise that there's
almost 60 hours.
I've lost productive time, but we see it as a very valuable opportunity because not all of our team members cross paths. So it's an opportunity where everyone can be in the same room, everyone can ask the same questions. We can learn. So we had Jason Vella from OCP. He came out and did a talk to our team about all the OCP product range. We've had John Daly come out from Eco Environment, not the golfer, and he did a talk to our team about soil biology. So we've, we doesn't matter who we get to come and talk. We always take something away from that as a team. So yeah, there's lots of things that you can do to help your team grow, because a lot of people want that. They don't want to just come to work and not learn something new. Like some of them might have, like me, who did their horticulture studies early on. There's always new things to learn. And that's I think a big part of having a business is that ongoing training and professional development. We do beekeeping courses. Like we've got one of our ladies, she manages a number of projects and she harvests honey for the clients who've got beehives. That's just part of what we do.
That's a side hustle I wasn't expecting from the yards business. Yeah, we also get honey. We mow lawns, trim hedges. Yeah, honey. So it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, we do anything outside. That's pretty much anything that's on the outside or plant related. On the we'll take care of it. So bees are part of that process as well. A lot of the clients who've got either native bees or the honey bees. That's something that they don't have to worry about. They all lead busy lives, our clients, and we offer to give them the best service that we can provide. One of the things that actually helped me as well. So back during COVID, it was very hard to purchase a vehicle. Like we were putting on new stuff, and it was we tried to have the same consistent looking vehicle. We just had to get whatever we could. And I remember this Mercedes Sprinter came up for grabs, and we jumped at it, and we had to go and pick it up from a Mercedes dealership. It was a second hand. It only had I think maybe 4,000 or 5,000 Ks on the clock, but the service that we got when we walked into Mercedes was totally different to the local Mitsubishi dealer down here. And that's what I guess we see ourselves with our clients. Are we the local Mitsubishi dealership, or are we the that premium service that goes above and beyond? So it just made me think about that when we were talking about cars there.
Yeah. And there's a value, like we talked originally, like right at the beginning, there's a perceived value.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain class of person who can afford and wants that sort of service. And if you're always dealing with somebody who has a zero value on that, in their perceived value, in how they express it, it's hard to justify that time because it is super expensive. The training, having extra admin on, all that sort of stuff. But then, if you get it right, you put yourself in a different pricing bracket, just like Mercedes does. And
Mm.
so then there's a certain type of person who goes, I don't care if I'm spending $20,000 on a car extra that has pretty similar stats to this other brand
Yeah,
because I'm in a different economic class and it doesn't bother me as much as it would someone else.
yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot of what people are trying to get to in their
Well,
business.
well, I mean, a lot of our vehicles are Volkswagen Crafter, Mercedes Sprinter, identical car from in every shape and different interior, but in every other way they're identical. Purchasing a Volkswagen to purchasing a Mercedes, the level of service was second to none. So you can draw an analogy from that as well. Like you know we're in the same industry, but what service are you providing? Are you there for your client all the time? Do you set goals in how soon you get back to clients? It's all those things that you do. If you're aiming for a premium level, that's where I feel that we do a very good job.
So you're in your office at the moment.
Yep.
With your 18 staff, roughly how many are on the tools and how many are organising the jobs? Because I think this will surprise people. I don't know what the number is, but I think I have a guess, and I think it would surprise people.
Well, so that's 18 of us in total, right? So um, we have myself in the office. I have George, my landscape architect, who only works part-time with us now, but he is in the behind the scenes. And there's my wife, Penny, who I've been able to handball a lot of the admin and um, accounting, bookkeeping side of things to her since she joined us about 5 years ago as well. And that's it. Everybody else, they all run their own projects. They manage their own projects. I'm here as a sounding board, and I'm here to help guide. I'm here to coordinate, schedule, but we don't have a big office crew. We've developed systems. We've applied different apps and different systems to what we do. We've even subscribed to Moquo.
Yeah, I'll flick you $50 later for that, right?
But we did. We always try these things to see how efficient they are and are they beneficial to our business. So and yeah, if I was still running the business probably the way we were 10 or 12 years ago, we probably would have to have extra office staff. But we keep things simple. We keep things. There's no point having all this useless time and wasted time tied up in things.
Well, it's really hard to get to. So, a few points on this is when you first start and you start putting staff on, you are running around like a headless chook because you have to do the admin and make the systems. And then once you make the systems, well, then the systems sort of start running stuff, and so if people don't know what that means, I'll really spell it out for people who are new. Well, what's your hiring policy, for example, or what's your you talked about self-assessment that you have with someone who hires. Well, that took time to make.
Yeah.
And once you've made it, and then you send it off to someone else. But there's probably 200 of those little things that you've done in your business when it comes to quality control or how you can, when your wife's off, if someone fills in, how do you organise these jobs? Do you have systems and procedures? Do you have all that sort of stuff? It's a huge amount of admin that's needed to build that up. And a lot of people, they end up having sort of like 30%. They need one administrator for two gardeners because of how much they're doing. And the price is just off the charts. And, how do you balance that? And it's a real challenge to get to that stage.
Yeah.
And, it comes back. It's the same with the training. You start skipping on the training because of all these non-billable hours. And it's incredibly challenging for people in that middle phase. So what did you do in that middle phase? Did you sell your soul to the devil? Did you... I don't know, take up some, maybe Colombian hobbies on the weekends, selling them to some other people? Like, how do you get through those sorts of challenges?
Very challenging, like you say. It's, long hours. I mean, even now, there's long hours. Like this morning, I think it was 4:55 on the clock, and and you just go, and it's now
What is it?
s-
7
7
where
7
you are?
p.m. where I am, and and there's still more to do after that. So
This is a Friday as well,
it's a
people.
Friday night, yes. You and people don't see that. They
Mm,
don't see it at all. But there's a lot that goes into it. There's times where you sacrifice going on holidays. There's times where I never wanted to miss kids stuff, at school,
yep.
but there are times where you've got to juggle, and sometimes
Yes.
I miss out, sometimes Penny misses out. It's those things that it's part and parcel of running a business, I
Yeah.
think. Look, if there's people out there who might set themselves 4-day weeks, or they're only going to work between this time and that time.
Hmm.
You've still got to find a balance, but I still find it they're big hours these days. Um, Sorry, your question was about challenging
Well, the middle
times.
phase. Well, I
Yeah,
guess you
middle
kind of
phase.
answered like you just have to do hours.
You have to, yeah, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep refining your processes. You have to
Hmm.
reassess. Uh, you know, just because something's going well doesn't mean it's going to go well forever. We constantly pull all of our systems apart, try rebuild them, and see that they're fit for our time. So yeah, constant reevaluation.
Another thing you've got to do in business, which is difficult, is you got to learn when to fire clients.
Mhm.
Is that something that you do a lot of now? And if you do, what sort of metrics or what sort of makes you fire a client?
Uh, okay, so it's funny that you said this because I was just on the computer the other day. So we've got in our system, we've got all of our projects. So we do a photographic analysis of every visit. So we've got
Yep.
one, we've got proof that we were there. Two, I can monitor it. I can't get around to every single job and keep an eye on things, but I guarantee my clients that before they get an invoice, that I will at least see the photos of the job. That's something that I still want to
Yep.
have, still want to be part of the project.
Yeah.
Um, the When I was in this system, so we've got all of our current projects, and then I've got an archived clients project, and I opened it up, and straight away I was just, it's probably bringing back some bad
Painful
memories,
memories.
painful
Yep.
memories, because like, well, we love what we do, we can't align ourselves with every single one, and that was probably my challenge in the early days, where I was trying to please everybody, and there were some clients, no matter how
Mm,
much you do, how much you don't charge. I still remember one job where, it was a quoted landscaping job, and, we did it, but we did so many extra things just so I could refine it and make it perfect.
yeah.
And I said to them, oh, look, I'm not going to charge you for that last 3 grand, And then they said, oh, thanks. And then they popped the garage door open, and there's a
Oh
brand
no.
new Mercedes AMG in the garage that wasn't there the day before. And I just thought, what am I doing? This is all so wrong. So so yeah, no, there's definitely um, so what would we do? The client has to love having a nice garden, not just having a nice outdoor space to show off. They have to be genuinely interested. So when we qualify a client, for a new client, we ask them questions about, how much time they're invested in their garden, and what a garden means to them, and we'll go and meet with them, and we get a feel for genuine plant lovers, genuine garden lovers, and non-genuine ones. And if they're not really that into it, then we're not the right fit. We want to be able to have conversations. I've got some clients, my guys will go over to their house, and they will have their lunch made for them. They will have little triangle sandwiches cut up and cakes baked, and you got to take that as a win. And and the staff really appreciate when
Mm,
that happens. I still remember it when it happened to me. I was working for a company in Sydney, and I still remember this lady. She's quite a prominent lady in the media circles, and she was the kindest person. We were sweating it out on this job, carrying buckets of dirt up these flights of stairs, and she brought out lunch on a tray, and cold drinks with ice, and I just thought, wow, I wish every client was like that. So I guess it's always been there in the back of my mind when you do work on jobs for clients like that. Um,
Yeah.
you can't get it all the time, but it's good when you've got people like that. So we engage our staff tell us if there's um, all the great things that happen, with their client interactions. And, we also pick up if a client picks on things just for the sake of picking on
Yes.
things, like that's not that's not enjoyable for anyone. So, there's
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah.
different things that make up a good client. Do they pay on time? So we've had clients that stretch payment out, and you can't go to McDonald's and say, "Oh, thanks, I'll pay
Yes.
you whenever I feel like it." They get payment up front. I heard you talking about you taking payment up front, which um, we have a fairly small window for our payments, and then we've got reoccurring messages that they get. But the majority of our clients, if we send them an invoice,
Mm.
I can guarantee by the end of the night that money is in there. There's some that I get so surprised because the money's in there within 5 minutes of us sending an invoice,
Yes.
and and those clients, we would do anything for. They shows that they value what we do. We reciprocate that as well with our suppliers. If a supplier sends us an invoice or a contractor, or I don't want them waiting 30 days or however
Mm.
long for a payment. Like you're establishing a relationship. It's got to go both ways. So
Yeah, and that's so powerful when you're in business. Like, little pro tip: if you can pay the invoice as quick as you can.
yeah,
Like, we've had so many times where we've really struggled with cash flow, and somebody pays a $300 invoice really quickly, and you just really appreciate it, and it does wonders for how you feel about that client. So it's the same the other way around, mower shops or whoever.
mm,
But man, like, it's good that you've got that down pat, and I think it's probably a testament to how you manage everything else as well, because a lot of people don't. A lot
mm.
of people do not have that experience where they have most of their clients paying that soon.
Well, look, we've had clients who, just for whatever reason, you know, that's just the way that they operate. And I still remember changing the schedule last minute with one of my team members, and he said, "Oh, hang on, I'm meant to go to this job to do that." And I said, "Yeah, but they haven't paid for about six
Oh man.
weeks. We're not going back. That's it, you know." So we stopped going, and then all of a sudden, I got a phone call saying, "Well, hang on, when's our project? When's the grass getting mowed or whatever
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
garden?" And I said,
When
"Well,
you pay up,
when
missy,
yeah,
you know, when
well,
you send me some cash money, all right?
yeah, and it's amazing to then see the turnaround. If
Yeah,
you don't turn
it's
up. So
like,
we,
yeah. Would
we
you keep walking up to your job if your employer stopped paying you?
no,
Like,
no
why are
way.
you surprised that we've stopped turning up?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
look, those client interactions, those really really getting to know your clients, I think is super important.
yeah, and that's another thing the employees don't see.
Yeah.
If you like, I've had conversations with employees where, like, a certain thing's been playing up, a certain, a tool works but it's playing up, and we're like, oh, we'll go get another one. I don't know, let's say it's a sprayer. I'm making up the story, but we've had conversations that roughly go, hey, yeah, we getting that? I'm still struggling with that little sprayer, and they're getting, the employees getting frustrated, and you're like, yeah, okay, but we're actually currently owed $25,000 or something like that. And again, it's a fake example, but
Mm.
there has been similar things that have happened in the business where the employee goes, "Oh, I didn't realize, like, it's like that." And it's
Mm.
like, yeah, that happens all the time. That's business.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, we had because everybody prepays except for this private school we work for,
Yeah.
and they're usually really good, but they were behind on a couple, and I think they ended up paying one early or something like that, and we ended up getting recently, like, basically $10,000 in, and we kind of weren't expecting it, and we're
Mm.
like, that's really nice.
Mm.
Like, it wasn't that we owed it, but it
Yeah.
was like, because you weren't expecting it. It's the opposite. The opposite is when you have $10,000 overdue and you really need it and you're really waiting for it, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's business life, isn't it?
Yeah, I still remember going to an industry event many years ago, probably from when we first started, and just this one thing I took away from that was this old guy had been in the industry for a long time, and he said, "Look, we teach our staff just to do one extra thing per job, and it could just
Yeah.
be the smallest thing that the client doesn't get charged for. Might be putting a new nut and tail on a hose tap, a hose adapter." And
Mm.
and it made me think, yeah. So we started, implementing little things like that, where we'd see something and we'd just get it done, and yeah, it's those little things that clients remember. So it's the same as when we go and get our car serviced. If the mechanic might put
Yeah.
$2 worth of tire shine on your car when you go and pick it up from getting serviced, versus him not doing, a different mechanic just
Yeah.
doing the standard, and it's no big cost, $2, on a bit of tire shine,
But it makes a big difference. And
it's
clean the car,
yeah,
vacuuming the inside.
yeah.
Another question that I've got to ask you,
Hmm.
which is we're taking a little bit of the tax here, but we've got to ask because there is a point where you hire a staff member and they become more work than
Hmm.
they are taking off your plate.
Hmm.
And for a lot of people, that's their first staff member because they haven't done very well with organising themselves, and
Mm.
they go, or that doesn't suit their personality or whatever. But how do you evaluate that? How do you think through? Okay, I've got to train them. I've got to do this stuff, meetings, and that costs a lot more money, and I've got to do all this admin, and then you get to the end of it, you go, am I actually going to make more money on that?
That's tricky.
Is that,
Yeah,
how do you work that out?
well, it happens because you put somebody on, you've got to do an induction. Is that half a day or a day first
Mm.
up? You don't even know that, how they're going to work out. So we try to qualify as much as we can in the interviews. We try and get to find out as much as we can about these people, but you have to invest a lot of time into those safety procedures straight away. You can't just go and put somebody on and hope that they work out, hope that they know what they're doing if you haven't done a proper safety induction. Um, we had one recently who, told me that he could, do everything. We offered him a contract. He turned up here to collect his car and tools and to take off for the day, and he's seen this gear lever in the middle of the car, and it was a manual. And he said, "I can't drive a manual." So,
Right.
we'd invested in a induction, we'd invested in uniforms, invested in all that, and something so simple where he said he could do something, but then when it came to the crunch, he couldn't even drive the car down the road. So,
What did
it's
you do? Did you have to find him something different, or you said this is just not the job for you then?
I shook his hand and he was on his way. He,
Yeah.
we couldn't do it. I'm going to go and trade the car in for
Yeah.
an automatic just for that gentleman.
For
So.
for somebody that you don't even know if they're going to be a good employee.
That's right. So there are a lot of things there that you don't know. There's some that do take a while to, their personalities to come out, and sometimes that's in a good way, and sometimes it's not in a good way. So yeah, it's part and parcel of the ride, I think. I wish I had the answers to some of these hairy questions, but yeah, it is just part of the ride.
I think there is a mathematical point where I've talked about before, like in business, where you're changing. It's like changing gears in a manual, but you've got missing gears, so
Hmm.
you've got to rev the heck out of gears, or number one, to get yourself into number four
Hmm.
without stalling the engine.
Yeah,
And that's the hours that you're talking about,
yeah,
in that transition phase, putting all those hours in. And I think some people in business sit at that revving stage for a long time
yeah,
because they've got, they're doing 65, 70 hours a week and they've got to do 80 or 90 or something stupid to
yeah,
get themselves to the next stage, to hire that next person. And it's very hard to get out of that.
yeah.
And that's usually where they go, this is too much.
Mm.
I can't handle this. And I think there's a really simple answer for this, which is simple on paper and very hard to execute, which is charge a lot more money. Yeah,
Mm.
because if you charge a lot more money, so many of your problems are solved. But then you go, that's really challenging to do because I'm already getting rejected at the rate I'm at now, and to put it up 25%, how many of my clients am I going to lose, and am I even going to ever get a job again? And like, is anyone ever going to accept me at this rate? And I'm sure you've had plenty of moments like that, doubting the prices, and
Oh,
you
you
do the math and you go, oh my goodness, I have to charge this now. Yeah, prices went up, and oh man.
do. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of reassessing, reevaluating. We catch up with our accountant each quarter and just check. Do a simple health check with the accountant, I guess. And we've got the figures. We check the figures. We probably should be charging twice as much than we do, but it's one of those things where we it's a tricky one, but like there's times where in the early days about thinking about putting your pricing up, and losing clients, but sometimes that works out for the better. I think the last time we like a couple of times ago when we put our prices up, we lost a client, and he was complaining about having to pay a higher price, and all of our costs have gone up. Like there was not one thing that stayed the same from the previous year. So and this is a gentleman who was not short of money, but that was enough for him to go elsewhere, and we lost. That was the only client we lost, and it was a good thing. So I, yeah, I'm not too concerned about. Um, you don't want to lose your clients, like especially the ones that you really enjoy working for. I've got clients that I would, if money didn't matter, I would still turn up and go and work for them. Like if you didn't
Yeah.
have bills to pay, and you know you would still turn up and look after their garden because they're such genuine people. And I can say that for you know pretty much all of our clients. We would do that for, because those long-standing relationships that we have. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
a tricky one.
there's a lot of us that get sucked into that because small business owners typically do it for a passion in this industry. There's a certain level of passion there. Some people are just in it for the money, but a lot of
Mm.
us love the industry and love making gardens beautiful.
Mm.
And we kind of sell ourselves short sometimes because of the passion side of it. And like you said, you had that job and you took $3,000 off the bill, and there's a new Mercedes in the driveway.
Yeah, yeah.
You're probably the one that should have been adding $3,000 to the
That's
bill
right.
in that financial sort of class system, but that's it's what passion does. And there's so many of us who have said, that they're going to do something for free or have charged
Mm.
less than what we should have because of that.
Yeah, it's tricky because I still remember, like I love helping people. I love seeing people have a go, and I still remember this one guy came over to our place one time, and he wanted to get into lawn mowing, and he was talking about, he goes, you know so and so gets their lawn done for this much, but I reckon I could do it for half that price. And I'm just thinking, yeah, that's probably not the best way to start, and it was a very short term venture for him. But
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, but
Halfway
yeah,
through that job, he realised.
yeah, that's right. Bad
That's all
decision.
it
But
took.
look, and the more that you engage with industry associations and understand about building the industry profile and contributing to the industry events, so that we can all benefit and we can all grow together, I think is a really important thing for people who are starting out. When I first started 20 years ago, and we started yards with the very few tools that we had, I decided to join an industry association, and those connections that I made we still have now. So we've just been asked to go back. I built a garden. I think we worked out it was 18 years ago, and you know,
Yeah.
done and dusted. That's it. We weren't doing much maintenance back then. So all of a sudden these couple of clients want us back there now, and it's so rewarding to be asked to go back. But that work that I have now for these staff members, has come about from networking through industry associations. So we are members of several of the industry organisations: the Australian Institute of Horticulture, Landscape Queensland, um, Landscape Design Institute, and the ATSMA turf industry as well. So um, through them, yes, it does cost money to be part of, and especially if you get into the corporate membership. Once you're in that level, but even as an individual, I would highly recommend um, not only joining an industry association, but participating, fully engage as much as you can, because you will get the benefits from that, you know.
I've got to pivot slightly because we've neglected to talk about that. You are the best gardener in the country last year.
Well, that was a bit that was a
Well,
really
let me explain that for people who don't know. You've won. Let me get it up on Instagram because I've got it. Australian Institute of Horticulture 2024 Horticulturalist of the Year. So it's not me just joking and mucking around, but some people evaluated you as the number one. And so my first question for you is, how much did you pay them? Because I want to win
I
this year, and I want to know how much I've got to budget, because I'm clearly not winning other ways.
I did not I did not pay. It was one of those things where, so the Australian Institute of Horticulture, it's based on industry people recognising that. So that was extremely humbling to be up on stage alongside Graham Ross, Costa, uh, Clarence, and all the other industry people from the Australian Institute of Horticulture receiving that award. It's definitely the highlight of all the awards that we've got there in the background, to walk away
Now
with
he's showing
with
off.
that.
Look at
So
him.
look, the Landscape Queensland ones that we have been entering for many years, and we've done very well out of with our maintenance crew, and I think that's a really good thing for our team to be recognised for the work that they do. I don't like being the face. I'm not that keen on being on a video link with you here tonight, but I'd much rather be in the background and put my team up front. So if you see our website, all of our team are featured up on there, and there's a write up on all of our team. So yeah, I love that I won that award last year, um, but it's a credit to the people that I work with every single day, and yeah, our suppliers, our clients, everyone's a contributing factor to that.
It is, for 20 years in the industry, it's a great honour. And, I joke about you showing off because there's a type of person who, and I don't think you're the type of person who justifies their existence from sort of things like this, and sort of lords it over people. But then it's nice when, at the same time, when people who actually do great stuff are recognised for it.
Oh yeah.
And I also think that whilst there are some people in this industry who like to tear others down, most people like building people up, and most people know that the industry is tough and there's certain elements that are just challenging to get through, and they love seeing people succeed. And so I think most people listening to this would love to hear that you've succeeded and find that as motivation. And that's how I feel, at least.
Well, in the early years, I would never have put myself up for even the construction awards. We just wouldn't have entered. I didn't feel that I was in that category. But then all of a sudden, one year we decided to enter. We got recognised. We didn't win, but we got recognised for it, and that was might have been a bug, but it might have also just been wow, this is a good feeling. So we decided to enter each year, and I think we've won the residential maintenance category for, is it 6 years, 7 years?
So many times you've forgotten.
I don't know. But
this is like you've made it when you forget how many times you've won the award.
But we do display them in our office, and it's something that we do take a lot of pride in. And I would encourage anybody to to get into that as well. Be recognised for what you do. It's great for our clients. They love having knowing that we take that much pride in what we do. Some of them probably love saying that they have award-winning gardeners working on their projects. I know it's been featured
Yes.
on some clients' houses when they've sold. That they've had that mentioned as well. So I yeah,
Well,
I'm really really appreciative of that.
Well, talking about celebrating success, something else I like seeing that you guys do on your Instagram is you put up nice things about the people who work for you, your employees. You'll say this is such and such, and this is their experience, and that's something that we've done a little bit of over time. And it's to foster a great environment, and I think those are sort of the 1%ers. And so even if it's not necessarily an award, any kind of recognition for success. And on a side note, that's something that I've been trying to think of with the page that we have now. Like, what I want the podcast social media to become is not necessarily just like, oh, we've put a new podcast up. I'm thinking of ways to make it fun and make it sort of an encouraging place for people. A place where we can have a healthy bit of banter at each other. Like you would have seen my apology to Joel Barnett, which was not an apology, but he took it in the right sense.
I love that. I love that. But you know what? Some people don't get that. I think even my wife said, "Have you seen what's on what Luke's done?" And I said, "Yeah, but that's the banter with Joel, and he's such a great guy too."
I should have put because people only get it's a joke when I show the really nice work he does, and then say that he's using broken pavers and this is really unprofessional. So maybe if I had my time again, I think I would have brought that a little bit further forward in the video, because then people get it's a joke sooner. But there were so many people who messaged me and they legitimately thought that like I had done
Really?
something horrendous. Yeah. My mother was one of them. She was nervous for a while there. But so having that, light-hearted sort of banter is one thing. But I genuinely would like to encourage people who have done great stuff, and like, for example, like you won that award, and Matt Oliver won the ASTMA sort of Turf Manager of the Year award. And there's people who, like, I might have commented on it, like, great job. But I've thought, no, I should share this, because the podcast Facebook page can become, and Instagram can become a sort of like a public announcement sort of thing, And I've actually genuinely thought in this, I'm like, how can I encourage people in the industry? I've thought about doing an awards thing that's maybe there's a bit of humor to it, maybe there's just a bit of fun to it. Like, did you ever watch Top Gear back in the day?
Yes, I've seen a lot of shows. I mean, Clarkson's Farm is probably my favourite show at the moment.
I love Clarkson Farm. That's right up there. But Top Gear used to do these sort of funny awards, and every now and then it would be they would give it out to car companies for silly things, but then there'd be a serious one every now and then. And I'm thinking, people comment, tell me what you think. Like, can you have like, I'm thinking things like legitimate stuff, like most inspiring story of the year or something like that, but then also like best hairdo in the landscaping industry, or most I don't know, like best lawnmower or something like that, if someone's customized something. And I see, I'm not even happy with my own things here, but somebody help me get some, because I would legitimately at the end of the year get some brands involved and be like, can we give away a line trimmer, and can we give away, and so it's not the seriousness of like your award, but I want to try and create a encouraging community, and like, that spans landscaping and home hobbyists and contractors who are independent or franchise. And anyway, that's something I wanted to do. So congratulations, well done. Let's celebrate. That's a genuine achievement. And like you're not going to win the best hairdo award if we do that.
I think I'll pass
I
on that one.
know. Yeah, mine's slowly receding too.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'll be in 10, 15 years, but like
Look, I think it's a great idea. One thing you know, of late, listening to more and more podcasts. I've been watching yours and Joel's and Daniel Fuller's and all the other industry um, podcasts. I think it's great that more and more people share what they do. We're only going to benefit as an industry if we all help each other. We're big supporters of TAFE Queensland as well, so we help out and sponsor awards with those guys. But yeah, the amount of knowledge that's out there that everyone's pooling together, it's just great. I'm big fan of the effort that you guys go to do these podcasts too.
I have thought. Okay, here is something that I have thought about having the funniest mistake. You've got to word it right because I don't want to hear about an accidental death story or something. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's got to be
line.
funny, not serious.
Yeah.
Like you almost cut your arm off. Okay, no, that's probably not. But something genuinely silly and funny, and people put their stories in. And it would be great if you could get like an insurance company to sponsor it. Someone who's accident prone wins like, I don't know, $500 off their insurance for 2026. Stuff like that would be fun. I don't know. You go.
I love how OPSM sponsor the umpires at the footy.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. That's the level that we wanted to. Or it's just like if their story is that they destroyed, I don't know, their line trimmer, and we can get Steel to give them a brand new line trimmer. Yeah. What a great, that'd be a great publicity for everybody. And, like every year around Christmas, do some awards. There's a lot of things I'd love to do that I've been telling people recently, like, there's so many cool things I'd love to do. They're just expensive and take a lot of time. Because even like BJ, somebody I've talked to who's got the LLE or the LE event down in Melbourne for contractors, there's so many behind the scenes little phone calls you've got to make, even if it doesn't cost you any money. And it takes away from the job and stuff. So, but I would love to do things like that. And it would be awesome to have it as an award night or something where we could have an event here or something. I mean, I was only in WA, so there's not going to be as many people rock up as for Sydney, but like something like that would be cool and make a collaborative event. Put some effort in. So I don't know. We'll fly you over, mate. You can award the best hairdo.
I'd be part of that.
Yeah, that's some good fun. I do have. Let me get my questions back up because I did have a few more serious ones.
Sure.
Let's just completely emotionally whip back from silly. A relatable one. How long did it take you to stop undercharging? I think it's pretty common when you start out.
Yeah, well...
did you nail it from day one?
No. I think I mentioned to you that, there's many years there where we didn't, as a sole trader, I just didn't make any money. You question why am I doing it? But, it's tricky. I don't know what the turning point was, but I think when you start going to other trades or getting other trades in and realizing, whoa, I'm just a fraction of what they are, and I'm offering so much more. So just not having those conversations with your accountant can probably hold you back. Not understanding your figures will hold you back. But yeah, again, those industry associations, getting involved and going and meeting with those people, listening to podcasts, all those things will help you build that business side as well. We've never done never had a business coach. That's not something that we've looked at, but again, we've reassessed and gone, no, hang on, we've got our accountant, we've got all of our figures. We attend and research and and that works for us. But other people, I know other people who've done the business coaching and they've just gone leaps and bounds. But I don't know. quite happy with where we are and what we do.
Have you ever considered, as a hypothetical, what would
Mhm.
happen if you doubled your prices overnight?
Yeah, we'd probably upset a few people. There'd probably
You
be a
would really
few.
upset a few people. You'd
Yeah,
probably lose a few
yeah.
jobs. But I use that as a thought experiment. I don't know if we can answer it in 15 seconds
Mm,
because I know some jobs that could never do it.
mm,
But then you also wonder, like, the question is really like, how far do you think you could push it? Until people, and when you frame it like that, sometimes it helps. So just bringing back to this undercharging thing,
mm,
20 years in business, I think you're probably well and truly on top of your
mm,
numbers. But it's
mm,
an interesting conversation, and if you look back, if I look back from my first year, I would have been really nervous about that. I thought I would have lost everybody, but I'm charging more than twice what I was back then now,
mm,
and it's
mm.
not as bad. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's those early years where you're just sort of chasing your tail because you haven't probably invested enough time into those elements. But yeah, I just think you just got to keep on pushing and keep on understanding what your business is about.
What's the most underrated thing? Tool, software, certain coffee shop that helps you running. What's the most underrated thing that helps you with your business?
Mm, I reckon the apps are really beneficial for us. Um, it's just finding those tools that help get you through and staying on top of things.
Mm.
Um, I really like to know all the aspects of the business and understand what's going on at every level. So yeah, those software programs really help.
I'll keep paying you $50 every now and then. If you keep promoting this stuff. We're very close to releasing this quoting, by the way. Apple is a pain in the butt. I'll tell you what. They are really hard to deal with sometimes. We could have had this out a while ago if they weren't.
Mhm.
Um, but it'll be interesting. I get nervous with this because I know it works for us, and we've tested it as much as you possibly can. And there's no reason why it wouldn't work. It's math, but you still don't know.
Well,
You
I'd
still
really
don't know.
like
So
to. I'd really like to try it and just sort of compare to how we've got all of our systems in place. I'd love to give it a shot. I mean, we've done the herbicide
the
app
pro
as well.
application
Yeah.
side, yeah.
So we've got that going, and I've showed the guys. I've given it to our greenkeepers because they're the ones who would use it the most. So we've got a couple of
Mm-hmm.
subscriptions there, and that's great how you can search. If you're searching for the weed, or if you're search for a product name, or it's a really good tool. And our guys are trained. They come from either golf course or sports turf backgrounds, so their knowledge is right up there anyway. But it's a good um, double check, back
Yeah.
up. It's been something that I've been really pushing them to keep on trying it and seeing getting some feedback as well. So yeah, I'm stoked that you were able to create something like that. The hours that went into that must have been pretty huge.
Yeah, it's people don't realize because it takes a lot more time to build something fairly simple, but to
Mm.
do it well.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time that we've been working on with this, because we released what is it? We're at the end of May now.
Mm-hmm.
This will probably come out in June, and it was March 1st that we released the app on, and
Mm-hmm.
then what happened is we just got inundated with people being like, "We really want quoting,"
Mm.
and we were going to focus like one little thing at a time, and it actually was more successful than what we sort of were ready for because we just pivoted. We don't have the time and resources to make these things cost huge amounts of money.
Mm. Mm.
So we've just been chipping away at it. But one of the biggest things we've been working on, believe it or not, is making the sign-in process as smooth as possible. You might have experienced this. It can be it's a little clunky as it is now, and it's doable. But some people had troubles, and some people didn't, and it's super time-consuming and fiddly to make a really nice. And now I appreciate certain apps where you're like, I'm clicking a button and it just remembers me all the time.
Yeah.
And, so now you'll be able to sign in with Google and Facebook and all that sort of stuff like you can on other apps. Instead of putting your email address in all the time, it'll remember you. And
you think back to, when we first started driving and, just to get from point A to point B, and you got the old Refidex out and you've got to use that. And now you just, on our calendar, you just click where you're going to, and, you just follow the line. It's one of those things where I think that will just be a really good tool for, it doesn't matter whether people are starting out or whether they've been in the industry a long time. People will want to use something like that just to make sure that they're on the right track. I'm the same. It's we if we do take on a new client or a new project, we will pull it apart and see how long it's going to take us, and that all takes time. But if you've got your gut feel, if you've been doing it long enough and you got your gut feel backed up by an app that Luke's developed, yeah, I think it's a win-win.
We had a guy who's part of the tester group, and I won't mention who he is, but he admitted to me that he's a real tight ass. He didn't use those words, but I'll use them. And he was like, "Oh, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't pay the $20-something it's going to cost for the quoting side." I was like, "No, that's good. That's like we actually want people like you don't want everyone to be yes man. We want, and when we've had all these testing nights, we're like, tell us all the negatives." Anyways, he got the updated version, so this is the first time he got the quoting side of it, and he used it to do a quote, and he'd been quoting without it. And I got this message. That was funny. So he accidentally paid. Let me just find this message for you. I'll read it out verbatim. But he accidentally paid for the app when we were trying to give it to him for free, and he was because he's a tight ass. Was very unhappy with that. And so then he says that I am missing a box, and we're going back and forth. I'm just reading the messages out now, and then I got this message, which is the most satisfying message I should ever get. Where he goes, "Well, Luke, Moquo just prompted me to quote $50 extra on this job. They accepted straight away. Nice win."
Yeah.
And I said, "Now you owe me a zigger." And he goes, "No, I still want my $6.99 back." I've just made you $50, man. How can I make you happy? But that's my passion. And look, there's a part of me which, how you talked about giving the $3,000 back to the people who are making money. There's a part of me which is like, I would do it for free if I knew that at the end of my life there's 5,000 small business owners across Australia or eventually the world who were able to go on more holidays because they charge $50 more.
Yeah.
And for something that's probably the quoting side's likely going to be in the 20s. We want to keep it there. We want it to be like an unoffensive price. It's very hard to... By the way, it's really hard to work out what you charge for an app when it's like you have no idea how many people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, if 3 people buy it at $20, we are not doing well.
But I think the cost of apps are so cheap for, as a tool for your business. There's various apps that we use, and it just still blows me away. I mean, they're obviously making money in volume, but they're just a cheap thing to have to help you stay efficient.
I one day, I'm not going to do it now, but one day I want to go back and calculate, because for the first 4 years, like there was as little money put into it as possible because it was all my time, and then we'd get a developer to make it, but I'd basically I'd done everything I could. But I would love to calculate how much time. And, the only reason I could do it because I was unwell. I couldn't work on the tools. I got a chronic illness. But if I was actually saying no to work to do it, I don't know how much this thing would have cost. So it's almost a blessing to be sick in a way.
Mm.
But I'm very excited for it to coming out, and I'm glad that people are like so many people messaging me. I've had a couple this week be like, "When's this app coming out?"
Yeah.
People are messaging other people asking them, like, I'm like, I would love it to be out, to complain to Apple.
Yeah. I've actually, there's a couple of, there was one episode that you did and you had spreadsheets all over the screen. And, I forwarded that on to a few people who are just starting out in the industry, and, just how I wish I had have had that tool
so do I.
when
I
when
wish I
was
could sort
starting
myself.
out. I probably would have saved a bit of heartache over the years, but
Oh my goodness, it would have.
yeah.
People don't realize. I get jealous. I get jealous of my own listeners sometimes. Like this episode here.
Mm.
If you were 22-year-old Luke got to listen to this episode of 31-year-old Luke and 32-year-old Ben,
Yeah.
I'm not going to guess your age. You started your business at 12, 20 years in the industry. Yeah. But like, if I could have listened to this back then, I don't know how many problems I would have solved.
Yeah.
How many mistakes, even like just a few years ago. Like I look back, I'm like, there's some dumb moves I made, not that long ago.
Mm.
I remember talking to Jim Penman. He said the same thing.
Mm.
He's 70 now?
Yeah.
And would be probably the richest guy in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's still making mistakes. So,
yeah.
I mean, I've got some rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
I've been saying we're at an hour and 45.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to wrap this up at some stage. So just try and be as quick as you can. What tool do you think was a waste of money at the start, but now you can't do without it?
Oh, the computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That went in a direction I didn't expect, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the iPad. The iPad is just such a cool tool that has, made things so much better. Sorry, that's not very rapid. Go next.
No, that's rapid. That's rapid enough. What's the most bizarre thing a client has asked you to do?
Oh, pass. I don't know. Lots of crazy stories to do with clients. I don't know.
I think your clients are too professional. You need to work in some of these bogan areas a little bit more.
We have, especially as a kid, trying to earn a few extra dollars at school. But look, one of our clients invited me. He's a marine pilot, and invited me out. I pestered him as to what he did for work, and he invited me out, and we had to climb up the side of this ship, and I got to see exactly what a marine pilot does. And that was probably pretty cool, to be asked to go out with the client. That's
right, mate.
Yeah.
Some other people are going to be asking something to do with, very naughty things. You're doing pretty well with that.
Oh, actually, back when I very first started, I worked in a landscape supply yard, and would have probably been 17 or 18, and this lady, she must have been in her 50s or 60s, asked me to go and give her some advice, but it had to be after a certain time at night. So anyway, I got my girlfriend at the time to drive me over. She waited in the car. I walked in, opened the door, expecting to get some questions about the garden, and she had a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and about 30 cats in the house. And she wasn't after any gardening advice. I'm sure
she was
about
after
that.
some different advice, mate.
There you go.
Yeah, mate. That's
what you're after. Yeah.
What's the worst thing you or your team members have accidentally mowed over?
Oh, I've got this client that I have become good mates with, and at the time he wanted some help to build a garden. I took my excavator over. We were building this garden. He said, I'm just going to go out for a bit, but just be careful. My dog's buried under there. I said, okay. So I was being really careful on the excavator. All of a sudden, a dog collar. Dog collar was up the surface. I was going really shallow with the excavator, and there was a dog collar, and then there were some bones, and my heart sank. I felt so bad, and he came back from wherever he went to, and I had to break the news to him, and he said, "Oh no, that's just a collar that we lost back in the day, and my dog's actually buried back over another 2 meters that way." So, yeah, that was
What were the bones? What were the
must
bones
have just
from?
been bones that the dog had buried.
Dog buried.
But my heart was just racing. I felt so bad.
Well, what next rapid fire? What's a job you'll never say yes to again? A type of work you'll never say yes to, or maybe a client.
Yeah, I've probably got a few of those, but yeah, I don't know. Probably commercial work isn't something that I really
Oh,
favour.
interesting.
I love residential. I love dealing with clients.
Is there ever, or what is the moment? I'm assuming it is yes, but what job made you question all your life choices that led to that moment right then and there? Like when it was so bad, it was such a bad situation. You just
What made me think about giving up landscaping?
Just question everything. What have I done?
Um, Probably in the early years of, you know, not being able to go on holidays, or just just yeah, that's probably the trickiest thing. Um, yeah, that's a hard one.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I had a story where I was running out of money because I was undercharging,
mm,
and I took on a landscaping job, and I quoted, and I think it was about 160 plants I needed to put into a hedge.
mm,
And it was on a slight gradient. The top of the hill was all sand. The bottom of the hill was all limestone. And I just thought it was all going to be sand. And I was chipping away at this limestone. It was in the 30s. It was summer. And I worked till about 8 o'clock at night because the sun was still up enough that you could see what you're doing. And that's when I was like, what have I done? I'm digging holes at 8 o'clock at night to make ends meet.
mm.
And the other thing that was even worse than that is I had a mini excavator the day before, and I was digging big holes with the mini excavator. I'd only hired it for one day because I was a cheap, foolish idiot. And that's one of the moments I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's probably been a few over the years where you know things just you probably weren't prepared for the job enough, and it hasn't worked out. But yeah, just reevaluating and reassessing, super important.
I have two more quick ones. What's one plant that if you see it in a client's garden, you almost won't quote?
One plant. Oh,
There's a correct answer to this. It's very obvious for this podcast. It's the yucca.
oh, right, okay, yeah, the yucca. Yeah, we're not a big fan of the yuccas, or anything that resembles a McDonald's drive-through. That's, Nandinas.
That's a good way to put it.
Nandinas are not on our favourite list. Um, Shapes, odd shapes in gardens. Yeah, no, look, it has to be a beautiful garden to to look after.
And the last one is, what's something you did early on that you remember and now cringe a lot at? And I could just say for me, it's definitely my Facebook posts. I can go back on some of those Facebook posts and go, mate, what are you doing? But what about you?
It's not hairstyles. I mean, I'd give anything for any of those hairstyles I had back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's a cringeworthy garden.
I think you're too sensible. I think this shows why you've had success in business. You didn't make any mistakes early on.
Oh, of course,
Nothing cringeworthy.
there's mistakes. But I can't think of anything that is cringeworthy. Now you're going to
You're going to remember something later
later on. Yeah, it's going to come to me.
All of them are going to come to you. You've suppressed all these cringeworthy memories to the deepest recesses of your mind.
That's right.
And at 11:30, you're going to sit upright in bed and go, Oh my goodness, I remember this. I remember that client. I remember this thing.
Maybe, yeah, maybe wearing long denim shorts to do a quote or something like that. That was pretty cringeworthy.
All right, mate. Well, thank you so much for coming on. The best horticulturalist in Australia, undoubtedly. And, you actually have the award to prove it. And, very helpful advice as well. So thank you so much for coming on, mate.
No, thanks, Luke. I appreciate everything, mate. You, all the effort that you go to with these podcasts. They're so informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody else. We'll see you in the next episode.